Hi there, I'm Jack.
And I'm Matt.
And this is the MindKeepers podcast.
We are an educational platform with the mission of guiding people to take the first step to addressing their mental health.
Now, there we go. We're off.
Brilliant.
In June 2020, myself and Matt were going through the first coronavirus lockdown alone in our flats, socially isolated, like many others in the UK. We arranged to meet for a catch-up and, believe it or not, a Tesco meal deal on the University Green. Inevitably, the conversation hovered around COVID-19 and how it had impacted our lives and our concerns for our health. But these concerns weren't limited to our physical health. We spoke of the silent virus, the one that society simply isn't doing enough to combat, mental health. Did you know male suicide rates hit a 2-decade high in 2019 across England and Wales? That's according to the Office of National Statistics. And this is something that simply isn't spoken about enough.
In a normal, informal and candid conversation, myself and Jack exchanged our first and second-hand experiences with mental health, discussing statistics, facts, viewpoints and educational information which we'd never been exposed to before. We both came away from this feeling more educated and mindful about mental health, and actually quite reassured that struggling with mental health is normal.
And that's how MindKeepers was born, with a true belief that through the combination of conversation and education, we can break the stigma around mental health and encourage individuals to take the first step to addressing their own mental health condition.
Because, and I cannot believe this statistic, only 1 in 8 people get treatment for a mental health issue. So every 8 people suffering with their mental health, there are 7 silent sufferers. MindKeepers want to help those 7 individuals take that first step. Because it doesn't have to be a daunting process. We want to normalise the discussion around mental health, educate ourselves, and ensure the right resources are in place for you to take the first step.
One comfortable conversation between 2 friends helped to make more sense of our complex minds and why we feel the way that we do. So as MindKeepers, we hope that through our content, 2 pretty normal blokes can bring the same assurance and some direction to those of you who are listening.
Also, MindKeepers isn't solely a podcast. We are a platform. All our content is directed to our website, which aims to provide the right resources to get help regarding mental health. In particular, we want sufferers to take action and see the help that is available.
And the website also houses educational content around mental health and in particular anxiety and depression. The content ranges from definitions to symptoms to treatment options and avenues for help. And an example of where this content actually helped me was just a simple definition of how anxiety feels. And this comes from mind.org.uk. So, you know that feeling when you're rocking on the back legs of your chair and suddenly for a split second you think you're about to fall? That feeling in your chest. Imagine that split second feeling being frozen in time and lodged in your chest for minutes, hours, even days. And imagine with it that sense of impending doom and dread sticking around too, but sometimes you don't even know why. Now, that really helped me to understand that feeling because I've had it before and I didn't understand at all why I was having it. So just to see that simple definition can just help to rationalize what it is that you may be going through.
And of course, because MindKeepers believe that conversations and discussions help to break the stigma around mental health, we have the MindKeepers podcast. We produce 2 types of podcast: explainers, which aim to be educational and insightful, explaining different facets of mental health, such as physical symptoms of depression or anxiety. And then we have discussions, because we know a lot can be learned from discussing how mental health manifests itself in our modern society. Discussions might range from which social media platforms are most impactful on mental health, or the impact of mental health on our relationships. With both podcast categories, we aim to involve guests from professionals and non-professional background to join us and provide different perspectives.
And we need to disclose that myself and Matt are simply normal blokes. That's right, Matt, isn't it? We're, pretty normal, bog standard fellas, just out of university in our jobs. We are by no means subject matter experts. We're also on our own journey through mental health education, but we can confirm that the resources we use are reputable and reliable, as we don't want to mislead anyone. That simply is not our intention. We want to provide the best, most accurate information possible, whilst also being mindful not to come across as too overwhelming with information overloads or damning statements. We want the podcast to be normal, informal, and conversational, and to be a comfortable listen for our audience, just like that conversation that me and Matt had that time back in lockdown on the university green.
And talking about getting comfortable, it would probably be a good idea to get to know a bit about me and Jack.
Yes.
So just so you don't feel like we are complete randomers. So I'll start with myself. I'm Matt. I'm 27 years old. I live in Norwich. However, I have recently, due to the pandemic, relocated to Norwich. I was in Leeds for about 5 years at university, and then worked up there as a digital marketer. And I've now, due to the epidemic, relocated down to Norwich, doing the same job that I was doing. So it's a very interesting time. I think that one of my motivations for doing mental health, for doing MindKeepers, is linked to, I think, personal experiences with mental health, having family members, having friends as well who have all had battles with their mental health, and always being a little bit baffled that we don't talk as much as we should about it. I also have a qualification in mental health first aid, which was a really great experience and a chance for me to learn a little bit more about what mental health conditions are really common, and also how people can get support and the resources they need to help them as well. I think, that's a little bit about me, and I'll let Jack introduce himself as well.
And I'm Jack, and so, oh God, hang on. Yeah. And
Sorry.
so that's right. And I'm Jack. So I recently graduated from university during lockdown, and I'm 22 years old. I am from the South Coast, and I am a civil servant as well. And I suppose my motivations behind being a part of MindKeepers is that I myself wouldn't say I've had a mental health struggle in my lifetime, but I have been exposed and have been around individuals who are very close to me who have. And I believe it's extremely important, because I was in a position where I was confided in, but I was probably naive to what a mental health problem actually was, and I was ill-informed, so I wasn't perhaps aware of how to help those individuals. I'm coming into MindKeepers from a perspective that we want to help others who are in that same position, where they want to help a friend who may be in need but won't have that education or information or the resources to be able to do so. And I believe it's extremely important, because that can really help to change lives and to help people get on the right track to addressing their mental health. But on top of that, in this COVID-19 timeline that we find ourselves in, I believe that people have been becoming a lot more conscious of how they feel physically, but also mentally as well. And I am exactly the same. There are patterns which have emerged for me, which make me understand how I am in terms of my mental health. And in particular, I've noticed that I am quite an anxious individual. And through my own education and understanding of anxiety, I'm finding ways to deal with that myself and to rationalize it and to rationalize the way that I feel. So that's a little bit about me and my background, and I suppose my motivation for wanting to kickstart MindKeepers with Matt, not just to help the individuals who are going through a mental health issue, but to help the individuals who are helping other individuals going through a mental health issue, whether that is your friend or a family member. That support network is extremely important. So we want to help to educate them and to provide a platform which is comfortable for them to come to.
Brilliant.
It's probably worth noting how me and Matt actually know each other as well. So we were both at uni in Leeds together. Did we do the same course, Matt?
We did, but I think I done international business and marketing. And did you do just sole management, or were you management and marketing?
Management, yeah, straight management. So,
well,
but yeah,
sorry to hear that.
Oh, come on. We're both employed now, so it's all right.
Very, very true.
But we met each other through the society, wasn't it? Leeds University Business School Society. I took over your role on there, and then that's where this friendship was born. Out of Lubs, and we've known each other obviously ever since. I think that was in second year for me, and first year for me, second year for you. So
so actually probably about 3 years, 2 years, but it feels like a lifetime, Jack.
Oh, it does oh. But it's good that we obviously come together to be able to create MindKeepers as well. So yeah, I suppose that's a bit about us. And Matt, it's your go.
So that's an introduction and a taste of what's to come. To find out more about who we are as MindKeepers and what we do, please head over to the MindKeepers website. The link is in the description.
And when you're there, you'll also be able to view our educational content around mental health. You'll be able to browse through the available podcasts. And of course, most importantly, you'll be able to access the Get Help Today page, which, if it's relevant to you, will direct you to available resources that you can use to help to take that first step to addressing your mental health.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much. Goodbye. Wow.
Thank you for listening to the MindKeepers podcast.
Our purpose is to ensure that anyone who needs help takes the steps to get it.
Break the stigma, take the step.